All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another discussion of To Your Eternity by Yoshitoki Oima. And
Nice.
did that sound convincing to you?
That sounded good. I liked it.
Okay. I was totally winging it there. So we are on volume 4, and we have been doing our usual thing. But in case you're newish to these discussions, Merphy has the odd discussions on her channel, Merphy Napier Reviews, and I am hosting the even numbered discussions. And we are tackling one manga at a time. And
One
this
volume at a time.
one volume at a time, one page
And
at a
one
time.
manga at a time.
Yeah, yeah. So, uh, Merphy, let's begin with your general impressions of volume 4 of To Your Eternity. How are you feeling about this one and the series at the moment?
Yeah. So Gugu, love him. He is a wonderful character. Reen, also a wonderful character. Um, I don't know what you saw coming. I definitely saw the foreshadowing that it was Gugu's time in this story. Yeah, it's a brutal
Kind of a
one.
pattern I'm seeing here.
There's a pattern.
Yeah.
Yes. So I definitely saw that coming, but it still packed that emotional punch, especially with seeing Fushi's pain at it all, the way he reacted and everything. I'm not loving the end of this volume though, or where it looks like it's going.
Okay. Okay.
What about you? How'd you feel about it?
Yeah, you kind of took the words out of my mouth. I wanted to see. I had the feeling too that because of the previous volumes, that as soon as I start feeling attached to one of these, if it's not Fushi, then there's a better than odd chance that, and especially if I like the character, that the character is going to disappear. At least Perona is alive somewhere, as far as I know. I
Here's
like
hoping we'll see
Perona.
her again.
I hope we'll see her again.
Yeah.
I don't want this to be a. And now who will Fushi lose? I'd like to see something different because I feel like there's a pattern here now. And okay,
Hmm.
you've done something interesting with this pattern.
Hmm.
Can we have something different? Maybe that ending is promising that, but I did feel it was very hitchy storytelling at the end of this volume, particularly very hitchy, very kind of like, wait, what, where, how did we get here? And
Yeah.
just kind of like, almost like I'm getting highlights of a story instead of a story where you're explaining how I get from one of these highlights to another. There's that in between stuff that I really would like to see a
Yes.
little more of. Does that make sense
Yes.
to you? Yeah.
Yes, this has been a very slow paced story where we're truly knowing characters and scenarios and the emotional impact of the story.
Hmm.
And the ending of this volume felt rushed, real
Yeah.
rushed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, too. It was just kind of like, wait, what? What?
And the
What?
synagogue,
Yeah.
the battle, the arena
Yeah.
type, like that's a normal thing. You see that in so many manga, the arena type arc, but that does not fit in this story. Or at least my impression so far is how could this fit into this story? It
Yeah.
doesn't feel like an arena story.
Yeah. It came out of left field for me, and maybe partly because I'm less familiar with the genre, but I think I know where it could go, and it's complete speculation, but and we found out his name. So he's not creator dude, as we've been calling him. He's called the Beholder.
The
And
Beholder.
does that in the beginning. So I guess, yeah. And I even spelled knocker correctly. So was happy about that. But yeah, so these things are told to us in the beginning, but I feel like the Beholder is pushing Fushi to become more of a warrior.
Oh
And
yeah, absolutely.
this arena thing, like, this sort of horrible island that people are trapped on, and this giant death trap probably is going to be where Fushi becomes tough or
Yeah.
learns about, combat,
Possibly. I
maybe
mean,
laws too.
this is coming at the right time in the story because Fushi's starting to become more desensitized to death in
Mm.
that he's starting to see it more as a utilitarian. This was just a cost of living. When he was trying to get Pure Purn,
Bjorn. Yeah.
Piorin, when he was trying to get Piorin back after they got separated. And he
Yeah.
was just like, there's an eagle. Okay, I kill. Which he was not willing to kill the crab previously,
Mm.
which he obviously didn't get to kill the eagle. But you can see his mindset starting to change where it's more like, okay, I'll do what I have to do to protect those I love. So it's
Yeah.
certainly possible that he'll enter into this arena and say, okay, if this is what I have to do. Previously, he would have just allowed himself to get beaten until he could find a way out.
Yeah.
And that probably won't be his state of mind this time around, which I'm sure will give us an opportunity for exploration and for him to learn and grow. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. Well, we have a lot to talk about first. Was that an eagle or an owl? I think it was might have maybe been an owl.
You might be right.
I don't know if it matters much, but
Mm.
and in case there's some symbolism attached to an owl, maybe it does look more like an eagle in the back where it appears, but I think it's still supposed to be an
I
owl.
think she actually says what it is at that in that
Oh
scene.
yeah, she might even tell us what kind of bird this is. But it looks, I'm not an ornithologist or anything, but this looks
Well,
suspicious
I am.
like an owl. You're an ornithologist, really?
Yeah, totally. No, I'm actually terrified of birds. You're right. I think it does look like an owl.
Yeah. Well, we can go with that for now, until we hear otherwise. But in the beginning, we have Bushi growing up, and there's a little bit of a, not exactly, I wouldn't go so far as to call it a love triangle, but we have poor Gugu unable to express himself still, really. And we have Rian
Ring.
or Reen or what we're supposed to call her. She is in love in a kind of, I think it's more of a crush really, with Fushi. I don't feel like there's a ton of depth to that because as soon as she hears from Fushi, oh, don't you know Gugu likes you? It seems like she goes from this to suddenly, oh, Gugu, okay. It's like, and she is kind of looking for something to get her out of this marriage, I guess.
Yeah, I would call it more of an interest
Uh-huh.
because when she first sees him in the last volume, she instantly takes an interest in him, and
Yeah.
Gugu's jealous of him over that. But it doesn't seem like they ever develop a romantic bond, even one-sided. I think she just develops a friendship with him. Well, I guess, yeah, we can call it a crush in the
I
last
mean,
volume.
you got all these little sparkly white things going
Yeah,
on.
you're right. We can call it a crush. We can call it a crush. But as you said, she's also just looking for a way out. She doesn't want to be in an arranged marriage. She doesn't want to be forced into this life
Right.
that her parents want for her. And
Yeah, I
then
don't
much
think there's a ton of depth to the crush. It just seems
yeah.
like,
And
yeah,
I think too also she realizes that she has a choice. She can either be in a loveless marriage with a stranger, she
right.
can be in a potential fun marriage with the boy she has a crush on, or she could be in a potential fruitful marriage with a boy that she loves platonically and respects
Hmm.
and who has genuine love for her so those feelings could grow. And so she picked the best choice and allowed herself to develop feelings for Gugu as she got to know him on that sphere.
Yeah. And of course, that later I think is increased when she realizes what really happened that fateful day when,
Yes.
she thought she was attacked. There was this whole narrative, which is completely wrong. And he finally gets it out that, yeah, I was trying to save your life there. And he did save her life. And in the process, got disfigured,
Yeah.
and turned into whatever it was the booze man was thinking when he made put alcohol in his belly. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, so I thought that was I feel like that Rian is. Correct me if I'm wrong because you are way more experienced in this. I feel like Rian is a kind of a type that you might have frequently in manga of a young woman, girl who's it's seemingly nice and sweet and bubbly. Is that a thing you see fairly often in manga or not? Am I just imagining this?
So, just like nice? I don't think I understand the type that you're describing.
Well, kind of bubbly, but a little bit clueless, but not in a terrible way. Just sort of
Mhm.
naive, I guess.
I
I
guess
don't know.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of female characters are portrayed in this very innocent, childlike, joyful manner.
Okay.
So I suppose so. I just kind of view it as just being a kid.
But she's also, I
She's
think,
15.
there's a front to that. That's kind of a front though too, isn't it? Because of her family life. I think a lot of that bubbliness is somewhat superficial. That we talked about this a little bit before, I think, how underneath that there is this kind of sorrow, actually. That
Hmm.
she feels somewhat isolated, and the only genuine, it feels like, friendships she has in her life are with Gugu
Yes.
and
Yes.
Fuji, right?
Hmm. Yes, definitely. I think that they're very much a collection of people who only have each other and value each other really deeply and kind of don't have all that they thought that they would have in life, and so they kind of cling to each other.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of that type of person, look who shows up. It's Shin.
Brother!
It's me, your big brother. And
Woohoo! Let's
just
go have a life together.
even with the mask on, I feel like that look says pretty much everything, right?
Which, by the way, killer mask.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love the new helmet.
The new one is really, yeah, pretty kick-ass, yes.
Oh, he's not wearing it yet in this.
Not yet in that scene, but he'll have
My
it
bad.
soon. But yeah,
Yeah, and he didn't spin the ring. He got himself out of the gutter without spending it. So I guess Gugu just provided him with hope.
yeah, I feel like, and I don't blame Gugu. Um, and I feel like given time, these two would have become close again, probably.
Mm. Yeah,
Uh,
because his brother really was sincere. He actually did want to come back and rectify his wrongs.
yeah, yeah. I think so. I think that's sincere, that he realizes at first he tries to put up a front like, oh, too bad you left me, but it's okay. And then Gugu's like,
Come on, man.
what? You know?
Come on, man.
So, and I think he shows sufficient shame, if
Yeah.
not quite remorse there.
Yeah. Well, I
When,
think too, the fact that after, at the end of the volume that he stays behind and he continues working
yeah.
also kind of solidifies that his intentions really were genuine.
Yeah. So while there seems to be an emphasis on the tragic in this series so far,
Hmm.
there's usually something that comes out of it that is positive, which is something I appreciate.
Yeah,
It's not relentlessly tragic. There's usually somebody who's touched by this life that we've lost. Who,
definitely.
in this case, it's definitely one good example is Shin resolving to be a better person, turning his whole life around. Really, so I like that. I like
Yes.
the brother relationship there, and how he's careful not to destroy what Gugu has, because that's one fear of Gugu's is, oh, you want to take me away, but I have a family now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I thought when his brother gave him the ring back, I thought that he was going to use that ring to propose to Reen. And
Um,
instead, she approaches him while he's asleep and tries to cram it on his finger to indicate that, like, I realize now that you're the little boy. We knew each other.
that was kind of a fun scene because
That was.
he wakes up and he's like, "Ow, what are you doing?"
She's like, if you want to date me, just say so. And he's like,
Right.
what is happening?
And then she throws potatoes at him.
And she's like, come on.
I thought that was really funny. That was a
Oh my
definite
goodness.
highlight scene for me in this one.
The audacity of this kid to show up at her birthday party shirtless. Like, come on, kid. What kind of event are you at? Put a shirt on.
I mean, he never wears a shirt.
I know, but put on a shirt for this.
Oh, I have to say too, Murphy, I really, really, after reading this, I really want, what did he call them in the
An
beginning?
alcohol organ?
No, I want armpit sweat absorbers. I mean, that
Yes.
was so cool, right? That'd be a great
No,
Christmas present for all your friends.
the greatest gift that anyone could give. Way better
Armpit sweat removers.
than No, but the new dragon helmet that can breathe fire, that's so cool.
That is cool, but I think I would actually prefer the armpit sweat remover.
Okay, you can have that and I'll take the helmet.
Okay, you get the helmet, but
Yeah,
it was a cute moment too, because
it
Fish
was.
obviously learning to be human, and some things he just doesn't quite get.
Yeah.
And so Rihanna's like, "Oh, I'm making this," and it's this nice little thing that she's made for Gugu. What are
Yeah.
you making? And then he holds this thing up, and he's like, "Armpit sweat removers," or whatever he calls it. So I thought that was funny. So nice touches of humor in here, right?
Yeah.
So should we move on to the party then?
Let's
Because
do it. Sorry, I was sending Corey a text. Yes. So I love her home. It's beautiful. And this party is so upscale. Like they've got a hors d'oeuvres, they've got I was pretty surprised that she's just in the same dress as always. I expected her to be required to dress up a little bit, you know?
that's a good point. I didn't even think of that, but that seems to be her. Maybe she has lots of different the same dress, I guess. I don't know.
Sure, but just with the way her parents are and the way they raised her, I would
Yeah.
just expect like this is her coming out party. Like this is her.
Come out
Is
with
that what
some
it's called?
brilliant gown or something.
Yeah,
No,
like
good
come
point.
down the stairway in her gown, you know?
Yeah,
So, I mean, this is when she's going to be presented to her husband. This is when she's officially an adult or considered an adult. So I don't know, I was just surprised. But
I
everybody's
guess.
pretty offended at Gugu for showing up in his attire.
Yeah, I mean, if she can have only one dress, then poor Gugu. I mean, he's been wearing the same pair of shorts since he was a little kid, and no shirt
Exactly. He shows up in his grimy shorts.
with the flower. What did you think of the flower
So
that
sweet.
that was a nice touch, wasn't it?
That was such a nice touch. I assume that he gave it to her just because he thought it was beautiful and because he remembered that she loved it, not because he was trying to instigate that
He was not
conversation.
trying to trigger something there.
Exactly.
No, but
Yeah,
it
he just
was significant to him, I think, right?
yeah, well, yeah, he remembered how enamored she was of them that day, and so he was like, "I know she loves this, so this is going to be my gift to her," which is so sweet. Of course,
Yeah,
he didn't expect it to backfire into like this thing that people would take offense over, but
right.
it's what finally got them to have that conversation.
Yeah, that was the thing, of course, that brought back that day, which turned out to be a good thing, I guess, because
Yes.
sometimes it
Yes.
is good to, when you're ready, I suppose, to confront that trauma, right? Um,
Sure. I think a lot of it too was just that he was afraid that he was going to push her away for her to find out what he did.
yeah,
And thankfully not she didn't project anything. She was happy to get the truth about that day and to know that it wasn't a hateful thing that happened to her, but an act of love.
right, right. Yeah, because the scar, she had been expressed some, being disturbed by this scar on her arm, which was sort of ironic given what happened to Gugu in the
Yeah.
process of saving her. But he thought she would be mad at him because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so sweet that he valued that. Like he was saying she got this scar and she goes, "But that scar was so tiny." And he's like, "But it mattered to her." You know, it's clear to him that he's not resentful at her for caring so much over such a tiny scar when he got, the brunt of the damage. Instead, he's like, "This matters to her, so it matters to me too."
Yeah, yeah, that was nice.
It was. And then the world crumbled.
Then the knocker shows up.
It
Yes.
sure does, which we knew was going to happen.
Yeah, we knew. I
The
mean, I think
watcher said so.
it
The
says
observer,
beholder.
the beholder warned us. If you
Yes.
stay here, they're gonna die.
Yep. Plus it says it on the back.
Plus, it says it on well, I don't have the physical volume, so I didn't see the back.
Oh, okay. So, but yes, and then of course Fushi immediately knows and is distressed because he's got to be realizing, wait, I'm putting all these people in danger right now, and I think that's part of what instigates his later travels. But it's really quite a harrowing. Really, this is the center of this particular volume, isn't it? The attack of the knocker during the
Yeah.
party and what sacrifices are made in order to save people during this, and Gugu being, I think, a central part of that. So, what did you make of the sacrificial aspects of what happens during this particular segment of the story?
Yeah. So we get through the initial action, and these 2 pages really struck me, as I'm sure they did you as well, when Gugu tells him, whenever you're in trouble, I'll be there for you. That's what brothers do. And then we, shucks, and then we turn the page to, you can't see it,
I
to Gugu
can.
getting snatched away.
Yeah.
Um,
Or
yeah,
no,
and
Fushi getting snatched away. Yeah.
thanks, Fushi getting snatched away. And yeah, I just thought that was really powerful. Kind of beginning of the end where he's making that declaration. We're seeing once again Gugu putting himself in the line of fire for his little brother, for his chosen family,
Yeah.
and how much that means to Fushi.
Yeah.
At what point did you realize?
Here's the page you were trying to show. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. Thank you. At what point did you realize how much confusion did you experience? Because I feel like it was told in a way that was intentionally a little bit disorienting and metaphorical until it all comes together. So how did you experience
I had
everything?
to go back and
Did you?
reread the whole
Did
segment.
you? Okay.
I actually did. I was like, wait, what? Wait, because when he said, "Oh no, Gugu can't be dead," and I was like, but he
What do
isn't
you mean?
dead.
He's literally breathing fire right now.
And then I was like, wait, is he? And then I turned back the pages and I was like, oh crap, he is. He died in the process of saving Rian. Um,
Yes.
and it's very tiny frame here when everything falls in. And I
Yeah.
thought that's what I missed was just this one little frame when everything
Intentionally
falls
so.
in. Yeah.
Intentionally so. Yeah. So what happened with me was I'm flipping through it again to try to remember exactly what the sequence was. But when the structure fell in on him and he's holding it all up on his back and he's
Yeah.
speaking to her and they kiss, and then all of a
That's,
sudden he's out of it and he's breathing fire again and he's being chased down and running into the water. And I was like, wait, at what point did he get out of that? And then
you realize it's Fushi. Yeah.
yeah, and then Fushi says at some point, I can't quite find it just here, but at some point he's like, "This isn't my pain that I'm feeling." And I was like, "Okay, so whose pain are you feeling?" And then he comes out of the rubble and he's like, "They're over here." And I'm like, "No, but he was just." So I yes. So I was very disoriented at first as well.
Yeah.
And I remember finishing the chapter and thinking, "Oh, Gugu's already dead." But let me read on and be sure that I'm sure. And then we get to the sequence of him being dead and having that realization, just like those before him have done as well,
Yeah.
where he realizes it and he everybody disappears and he's like, "Oh, I get it."
Yeah, these are the crucial pages. And these, like, we had those little white fluffy things around Rian earlier. So these little black sparks, whatever they are, appear around Fushi when he's realizing that Gugu is gone.
Yeah,
And it's clearly triggering something in him. You know, he's having a very traumatic reaction to all of this, the loss of his brother.
yeah,
And there you see the little, this, again, it's a tiny panel there. The swirls that are we associate with him when he's transforming into something. I had to
mm-hmm.
go back and read this like a couple times and realize, oh, that's what's going on. And then he's this. That's the next panel. So we get the little swirlies. He goes from,
It's
white.
very subtle.
It's very subtle, and then there he is, Gugu, and and I had the same reaction. I had to go back, figure
Yeah.
out what happened here. So I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Seems to be intentional, though. I
I
think.
think so. I think it was very intentional. I think part of it is conveying the chaos that's happening around us, as well as how fast it all happened, as well as showing the turmoil inside of Fushi in all this. I think it was intentionally meant to be confusing for us so that we could then have that kind of bulldozer sort of, or like wrecking ball sort of revelation.
Mhm.
Even here at the end, at first I was like, oh, so okay, so Gugu is speaking to him in the spirit, right? And then when Reen shows up and Fushi runs and he's like, I can't let her see me like this. And then he switches to Gugu and he's like, I'll meet you in the fields. And in my mind, I'm like, am I
That's confusing.
misunderstanding?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I did understand that Gugu was dead at this point and Gugu
Yeah.
was speaking to him,
Yeah.
in the spirit.
You keep
And
saying Gugu's not dead. Gugu's not dead. Then you realize, oh wait, that's Fushi. Yeah.
right. So right here is what I'm talking about when he's speaking to him on the balcony.
Yes, that was very confusing to me.
He did okay. So then he goes when he sees Rian, and he looks in the mirror. He looks in the puddle of water, and he's like bucket of water, and he's like, she can't see me like this. And then real quick switches to Gugu.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, am I misunderstanding something? Especially when he said, I'll meet you in the field. And I was like, I'm pretty sure Gugu's dead. And that was all like some, you know, other realm kind of connection that they were having. And I'm almost positive that this is Fushi. But why would Fushi tell her? Why would Fushi be trying to pretend Gugu's alive?
Right.
Which I suppose was just a trauma response.
And so, yeah, and I thought about that too. And she was unconscious when they dragged her out.
Yes.
And so she's been out of it. And I guess no one told her that the boy who saved your life, who stood between you and this barrier, is passed away. You know, that he's
Yeah, because how would they know what he meant to her?
right, right. So, I mean, well, you would think they might have said, hey, there was this boy who saved you. But anyway, she doesn't know. And then this vision of the older brother of Shin is Gugu's spirit or whatever, I think. He's hitching a ride like he was when he's a little boy, except he's grown up here. And it's like his spirit going home, and he sees this vision of his family, and they're all together, and it's happy, but then it disintegrates, and he sees the morning, which is really what's happening. So that's all Gugu's perspective, I think.
And then, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you go ahead.
No. I liked this panel when Reen first gives him the hug, and he asks that same question that Gugu used to be
That's
asking.
Fushi, right?
Right, that's Fushi. And Gugu, but Gugu used to ask this question, why am I me?
Yeah.
And now this is Fushi asking, why am I me? Reen needs Gugu. Why can't Gugu be here right now? Why do I have to be me in this scenario? Which I thought was a really powerful kind of bringing it back to that beginning.
Yeah. So what we have here in this kind of confusing scene, she wakes up.
Yes.
And then back at the house, you have, this is a ghost.
Yes.
This is Ghost Gugu, and this is Fushi.
Yes.
And there's even Ghost March, who's really Ghost because March has been taken from him at this point. He doesn't have memories of March.
Yes.
So this is Ghost March kind of like peeking around the corner.
Yeah, this is, yes.
And then she shows up and Fushi's like, oh no, what do I do?
Yes.
She turns into Gugu to spare her feelings, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Which, like I said, why would he pretend? Like, why would he?
Yeah.
Because he told her, go meet me in the field. And then he left. So he was never going to meet her. So what was his plan here? Make Reed believe
figures it out.
Gugu abandoned her? Yeah, she figures it out, thankfully. I guess it was a trauma response. It just seems like a weird plan.
Yeah. Yeah, because at the end, when she goes to wait and her father shows up to say, where have you been? Blah, blah, blah. And then she says, I love someone else. Who is it? Well, he's not here anymore. And I think that means she understands that the person she saw was Fushi and that Gugu is actually gone.
He's probably with him now because she knew.
So knowing, she knows Fushi well enough to know that if Fushi can turn into Gugu, then Gugu is gone. Yeah. Meaning he's with him now.
Yeah. So I still think it's weird, but I guess he was trying to give her some sort of closure to let her see Gugu one last time.
Maybe. Yeah. I agree. It was very confusing, but I'm glad we could piece it together, helping each other out here.
Yeah. I mean, even though I had to do some rereading and I didn't understand everything in a linear fashion, I think that the way it was done was very impactful, and I quite liked trying to piece it together.
Yeah, I ended up being okay with it once I thought I had sort of grasped it. I do think it was intentional. I'm not sure I'm 100% a fan of the way it was because I had to keep going back and figuring things out, which is, I don't mind doing that. What I thought, though, at the very end was this is just kind of disjointed, and this is not good storytelling.
Oh, interesting.
At the very end, I mean, the highlight moments, they worked for me, but it was like going from one jumpy thing to another. It's very, like I said in the beginning, hitchy storytelling.
Mm.
And there was I don't know. Do you want to move on to the rest of it? Because it's really just like this much left.
Yeah, yeah, let's go.
Like we've done most of it. So he does meet with the beholder. What are you thinking now about the beholder in terms of what his motives are, what his role is? Are we now we know his name, a beholder? Do you trust the guy? What are your impressions of the
I
beholder?
really don't know what to make of him. He obviously knows a lot more than we do, and or they, I still don't really know the gender. Um, they obviously know a lot more than we do, and are trying to push Fushi, but it also seems very detached, where it's just like, listen, you're more important than them, you're more valuable than them. It doesn't matter, just do what I'm asking you to do. You know what I mean?
Right. And I don't like that.
I
Yeah.
don't like, yeah, I agree. I'm just with I don't know. I'm reserving all judgment at this point. How are you taking them
I'm
at this
still
point?
going on the theory that the beholder is going to be taught something from
Yes, I agree.
about compassion and empathy and the importance of all life, and because I don't like the beholder's attitude that they don't really matter, move on,
I agree.
get your prowess,
Yeah.
so you can defeat
Yes.
this enemy of ours. And
And Fushi has learned the value of humanity at this point. So
yeah.
I very much agree with you that the beholder is going to eventually have to learn this from Fushi as well.
Okay, yeah, well, we'll hope to see that moment. And then comes the reunion with Pioran, which she keeps turning up,
Yeah.
after being left behind. She keeps turning up,
Yeah.
and takes another
I
bite out of his leg.
I love her caring for him. You
Yeah.
know, when he wants to isolate, when he wants to push everyone away in order to keep anyone else from being a casualty because of him. And she's just like, eat some food, drink some tea. I'm gonna cover you while you sleep. Like you have to be cared for. And then he eventually accepts her companionship and then she gets taken from him and it's all proven correct. But I thought that that was a really sweet show of tenderness from her. And she's a character that I don't really anticipate tenderness from. So it was nice to see.
Yeah, I agree. I have a bad feeling about her future, though.
Nah,
And
she's old. She'll be fine.
you know, Murphy,
That was so hateful.
you know what happens to old characters in fantasy and probably manga, and dads and moms and grandparents?
Exactly.
Yeah, I know.
No, I'm honestly just not attached to her character at all.
I mean, she's there for some comedic relief and moments, but also, as you said, there were, because she seems so um, often self-absorbed, in a kind of funny, quirky way. The moments when she is affectionate, those moments can be more powerful when you see that
Yeah,
coming from
very,
God.
very endearing. I do agree.
Yeah.
I will say, while I do feel like their capture and then his escape and then trying to go back for her and now he's in the arena, while
Yeah.
all of that felt very jarring
Right.
because it
Right.
didn't match the pacing of the rest of the series as we've known it. Uh,
Correct.
our brief encounter with this girl with the hat, who was branding them or got to send them off to get all this to happen,
Yeah,
and then
that
her
was
little
so
it
weird.
was
Like,
all
okay,
so fast.
first, she abducts an old lady to basically lure her into slavery. And then
Yes.
she's like, oh, well, sorry about that. And she's acting like she's going to be his best friend now. And I mean, what gives?
I don't know. Yeah,
The
it
character
was
made no
interesting.
sense to me at all.
I think she's trying to survive, so she's doing the job that she has to do, and then when Fushi escaped, then she was like, "Oh, cool. We've all escaped too. So you're just one of us now." That's the way I took it. And
Okay.
I will say that this motley crew that she has are very charming. So I hope we get to know them better.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean,
Not agree.
she's got a nice hat, you
Does
know.
have a nice hat. You're into character design.
I'm trying to find the positives in this part. But yeah, no, I was like, what? I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're trying to do with this character right now.
Yeah.
And
It's very abrupt. It's hard to feel much when it's happening at such a rapid pace.
right, right, yeah, I mean, and she at times looks very innocent, and then sometimes looks very sly, and
Yeah.
like, okay,
I like her. I
okay,
think
you do.
I do. I think she's an intriguing character. I think we got a very confusing and abrupt introduction to her, and as long as we then slow down and establish her better, I'm happy because so far I'm very intrigued.
Okay, yeah, if she starts making sense, maybe I'll like her. So, but right now, it's like she sees him falling, having after he fell, and she's like, "Whoa!" And it's like,
Oh, it's so fun.
what is it with her?
I think
So
she's fun. I like her so far.
okay, and she has a bird. She has an owl. I think it's
Well,
it's
her friend has it now.
her friend. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Her friend has the bird.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not her that has the bird.
Let me
Okay,
flip
she says,
that.
"Isn't that her? This is my partner," and it lands on her
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
suddenly appearing leather glove on her hand. Where I don't know, she took it out of her
Wow.
pocket or.
Critical Philip has come out to play.
So, I don't know. I'm lost, Murphy. That's all. I'm just
It's so
grabbing on to
funny. I
anything
came
I
into
can.
this slightly critical, like, I'm not so sure. And you're here like, look at the glove. You're like ready to fight.
I mean, yeah, I think that's her bird, but yeah. Oh yeah,
No,
she
I
says
think
this
you're
is
right.
my partner.
I
Yeah.
think you're right. I for some reason was remembering that I read this a couple days ago, but we finish. Dadgum, freaking okay. We finish on
Oh yeah, I see. Oh my gosh, yeah.
yeah, a very brutal depiction of the beginning of the arena sequence.
Yeah.
So
Where
this will be a more action-packed volume potentially.
I'm anticipating that, and that could be good. Let's see how well what's her name? Oima executes that. But yeah, at the moment, Fushi, I don't know how he's gonna fight. He's a pincushion right now. But he's not gonna
Yeah,
die, but yeah.
it'll be interesting to see what happens next.
Well, the beholder has been pushing him to get more formidable, and my guess is this is just one way that that's gonna happen, I guess.
It
So
does seem like it.
that's where we end up here.
How you feeling? Are you excited for what's to come? Are you a little bit unsure?
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. I really liked the first couple and the third a lot. And this one just, I feel like I was confused so much of the time while I was
Mm,
reading it because of the abruptness of a lot of the storytelling. That
sure.
I was just pushed out of the story too much and
Mm,
did not enjoy this particular volume as much.
yeah.
I'm still definitely invested and I want to find out what's next. How about you?
Yeah, I think I think I come out of it a little bit more positive. I ended up I was confused throughout a lot of the action in this as well, but I came out of it going, "Oh man, that was cool. That was an interesting way to tell that." And then my negativity more comes at the back end with the abruptness of the capture and the introduction of the arena. So I'm hesitant about having an arena section to this particular story. But if it's quick, I won't be too fussed. But if it takes up a lot of time, I might I might turn into a whinger.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, I feel like it probably will be quick because that seems to be the way it's progressing right now. Is each volume seems to be a stage for Fushi. And so I
Yeah.
would predict that if we do have any kind of extended arena thing going on, it'll be just
Yeah.
that volume. So
Yeah, and this also could be the beginning, this might be the launching point of kind of breaking the pattern that we've established in the last several volumes, and instead of just continuing to collect tragedies, we might now have our base and be able to explore the themes a little bit more in depth.
yeah. Yeah, and it must be said that a Colosseum with gladiator style deaths all over the place would be a pretty good place for Fushi to absorb some new life forms, right?
No, no, I don't think he's gonna absorb any of them. I think he has to have
Really?
Yeah, I think he has to have an attachment to them to want to carry them with him.
Oh, maybe. They seem to have to die though. We know that,
Yes, they have to die.
which is how he knows Gugu's gone, and he keeps
Yes. But he
denying.
doesn't absorb everyone. I mean, unless he's about to turn into a crab, which he might,
He can
but
make the crab out of his hand.
right, but that's different from absorbing their identities.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah.
So I could be wrong. I could be wrong. That's just the assumption that I've had up to this point.
Yeah, you're probably right, actually, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Well, thank you, Merphy. This has been, you've helped me to figure what's going out, what's going on rather in this particular volume. So I do
I'm
appreciate
not sure I understand it, but we stumbled through it.
I think we got through it together there pretty well. That's what buddy reads are for.
That's right.
So thank you so much. And we will get together for volume 5 next time on your channel, Merphy Napier Reviews. And everybody else, until next time.